Let's see, Sarah, did you want to go ahead and start off? Maybe you have a couple questions.
Yes. I started after the beginner's course on Wednesday. We started talking about putting all of our different customers in their zones based off of their zip codes, kind of something that you talked about on Wednesday. And then, I don't know, I guess I'm trying to think of the couple questions that I had for you on the zones. If I go to my customer list, and they're all listed there. First off, what are the dots between the contact and date created? The dots that are either highlighted or non-highlighted? I forget what you said about those.
Yeah, that signifies whether the customer is an active or inactive customer in QuickBooks.
That's what we were thinking.
And there is a setting in the software. If you go to Miscellaneous Info, System, and then Control Table Maintenance, you can actually turn on Show Only Active Customers. Change that to Yes, and then hit Update QuickBooks, and then Update Only Customers, and it'll actually remove all the inactive accounts in the service program, so you only see the active ones.
Okay. That is good to know. Okay, let me change that to yes real quick. Okay, and then how do okay, so I'm back on my customer list. How do okay, so I click on, say I want a certain zip code to be zone 1. You said I would click on, click on the zip code.
Yeah. First, I'd recommend setting up your zones just by double-clicking in the zone field.
Okay.
And then you can create a list of what numbers you want to be each zip code, for instance, here.
Perfect. Okay. All right, I got that one.
Let's see if I can find another one here. So I see a zip code. I'm going to create a zone 4. I'm going to make that 32967. Now once I've created that, I can go find that zip code, highlight it. I could filter by selection, and I could see all the customers in that zip code. Now we want to assign them to zone 4. So now just on any one of them, I'm going to put in zone 4. And then click out of that field. Then it will prompt me, do you want to update all customers in that zip code to whatever zone you put in? Hit yes. Now all those are in zone 4.
Yeah, that's a lot easier than even filtering by selection and then hitting 4 for all of them. That's a lot faster.
Yep.
Okay. And then last year we already had kind of different codes set up for our weekly cleanings. Say one zip code was on Mondays, and that was purple. The second zip code was on Tuesdays, and that was purple. How do I incorporate those zones to get them into some sort of I don't know, onto the calendar, or I don't know if that's with routing and mapping or whatnot, but I just want to make it easier for me to assign customers to a certain day that we're in the same vicinity on the calendar, so I'm not sending my maintenance guys all over the place.
Now, is this for, now you're doing it just for maintenance, not necessarily routing, correct?
For maintenance, service calls, cleaning, I guess I'm not really very familiar with the mapping and routing yet either, so it could be for that too. I'm not quite sure.
Okay, how you want to kind of picture it is a split. You have your task list, which manages what I would consider your maintenance techs, the ones that are going out to fix the problems, they're addressing the pumps, they're anything where that customer's calling in and say, hey, I need someone out here to come take a look at whatever it is.
Okay.
Those are great to manage with tasks. Now your cleanings, your weekly, bi-weekly pool cleanings are what we highly recommend is putting them onto a route.
Yes, okay.
And
This I have no clue about, so this is all new to me right here.
okay, perfect. So we'll start here and then just kind of move forward. The first thing we would need to do is set up the different frequencies in which you service your customers, whether you see them every week, every other week, once a month. And I do that simply by double-clicking in the frequency field. And we have a lot of options here, and just to keep it simple, the most common one is a weekly service. So I'm just going to name it weekly, and then I'm putting a length of days of 7. Meaning if I set a customer up on a weekly service on Monday, maybe that's the day I put them on, it's going to reoccur every Monday. Now the frequencies are split up into 3 sections here. We could use a length of days, or maybe if I don't want to use a length of days, I could use an interval setting. So maybe I'm going to create a monthly frequency, which use interval settings, and it's going to reoccur on the first Monday of, this is monthly, every month here. If this was maybe bi-monthly, every other month, I could, have that reoccur on the first Monday of the months that I have selected. Or you could do a monthly frequency simply by doing monthly with the length of days of what I highly recommend is 28 for a monthly frequency if you're using the length in days, which is once every 4 weeks, which pretty close averages out to a month. 4.3 is the true number there, but this allows us to make sure a service never falls on a Saturday or Sunday. Kind of follows that weekly. If we set them up monthly on Wednesday, they're going to reoccur every 4 weeks on a Wednesday. I could do a bi-weekly, which would be once every 14 days or every other week. So far, so good?
Gotcha.
Now that I've got my frequencies set up, I need to set up my route technicians. So to do that, I'm going to do the same thing, just double-click in the route field. And I recommend keeping your routes simple. Name them R1 for Route 1, and then we can assign a technician for that route. It is very easy here to get overcomplicated. We don't need a Route 1 Monday. Basically, we don't need Joe's schedule for Monday. We don't need a Joe's schedule for Tuesday and the separate. We just create the single technicians here, and then we define on the route schedule that technician and then the stops they have for each day of the week.
Okay.
So I could create a Route 1, and I'll just use that. Maybe it's Joe as the technician, and he's Pool Tech 1. My second tech, Route 2, maybe Bill. So you want to add your technicians. If you have 3 guys that are going to be out doing the cleanings for your customers, you would need 3 routes here.
Okay.
Now I'm going to just tie them to a routing department. And this just helps in a lot of our reports if you keep your route guys separate, and we can create the same kind of department I can show you here in a moment for the actual maintenance techs, the repair techs. But to set up departments, just simply double click in that field and then we could set up a couple different department names.
Okay, so I could do maintenance for one, cleaning for another.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then the PDA username is the next field I'm going to set up here. This will be the name they log into on their mobile device. So I'm just going to keep it simple. Route 1 will log in with Route 1, and Route 2 will log in with Route 2, or R2, excuse me. I'm doing it specifically this way because what happens if, let's say, Joe, who is the normal tech for Route 1, is sick? Well, I could have any other one of my techs fill in just on his mobile device by signing in with Route 1. I'm not making it specific, you know, with the login of Joe and his password. I'm just making it generic so anyone can kind of fill in. And that's real simply how to set this up.
We have, like, they'll give the techs every other weekend off, so they'll be doing each other's routes, so I'm actually glad you showed me that.
And I'll show you how you can quickly flip that. Maybe if you have two techs, maybe you create a third route, and we'll just call it, I'm going to leave the technician name blank, and we can just give a description. Maybe this is the weekend route. That way, whoever's working that weekend will be doing Route 3 and not, you know, assigned. It's not like one of their regularly assigned routes. If that makes it easy to track. And that way you have a lot less reassignments, a lot less to manage. Is all those people on the weekend that you service just put on that third route for Saturday and Sunday type. So now I have those three technicians I could pick from. Now we can start setting up our schedule. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just set up a mock schedule for this week. So I'm going to start with the frequency. I'm going to set up a couple weekly stops for my first tech, Route 1. And now I'm going to set up his Monday schedule first. So I'm going to pick today's date for Monday, stop number 1, and this stop numbering is going to change. You're going to use zones with mapping to reorganize all this when you're done. Right now, you're just keying in the customers on the dates you want service.
Okay.
And then just do your stop numbering in order. Just put it in a sequential order as you key it in, and then you can go back and renumber it based on when you optimize the route or map it and plot all the stops out. And then I pick the customer. If you see here, when I pick my customer, it automatically puts my zone in for me, that customer's in.
Oh, that's nice.
And what we've just done is create a weekly stop for this customer that's going to reoccur every Monday. And it's going to be on that first technician schedule.
Okay.
So now I'm going to fill out the rest of his Monday. So maybe weekly, still working with Joe, pick Monday, stop 2. I'm just going to add one more stop to his Monday schedule. So now let's just say that he's got 8, 9 stops for Monday. His Monday schedule set. Now I need to set up my second technician, whatever his Monday schedule is. So I just continue on the new line, pick my frequency, pick my route tech. This time I'm going to set up Bill's schedule for Monday. And since I'm working on a new technician schedule, I'm going to start my numbering over again.
That's 1, okay.
Stop number 1. So now I've got my stop set up for my techs on Monday. Now I'm going to start with Tuesday's schedule, and I'm going to start with Route 1 again. So weekly, Route 1. My date of service is now Tuesday, and then stop number 1. So you start your stop numbering over again anytime you switch days or switch techs when you're setting up this schedule.
That seems pretty easy. How do you put in times if we only want to give them like 45 minutes at each stop?
Your route
that's
time
down
here,
to 10. Okay.
we just go to the right, is the budgeted amount of time to service that stop. So let's say we give him 45 minutes, so that'll be, let's see, maybe we can do just 45. So now what I can do is I can go Route 1. I can filter using this top line. So let's say I want to see Route 1 schedule for Monday. Here would be his 3 stops, and if I look over, he's got right now 2.25 hours of work, or rounds it up for you, 2.3 hours of work. And it's totaling up the budgeted route time. Maybe he needs 20 minutes in between each stop for driving. So he's got an hour of drive time on his route, 2.3 hours of work, for a total time today of 3.3 hours budgeted. Now we can use the route tickets with the mobile devices to compare the budgeted amount of time versus the actual time he was there on site, and that's where you get into the reports for your profit and loss and job costing.
Okay.
Let's say he needs to be at the first stop at 7 a.m. Second stop, he's got to be there by 8. And maybe the third stop is at 10. So that's how you can put in start times if one's required.
Okay.
Now let's say I want to print a schedule for my guys. If I do a hard copy, I can go to Route Info, print route sheets. Then I could print Joe's schedule for today. And then a good version, if you do version 2, I believe. Oh, I've got some wrong settings here for, hold on, let me switch over to the pool industry. There we go. This is version 1 of the route sheet. It has all the stops on the guy's schedule for the day. It also has a spot where he could handwrite in his different chemical readings, plus the time in and time out for each stop.
That was version 1, you said?
Yes, that's version 1 when you go to print route sheets. We have a couple different versions. Maybe if you like just something simple and clean, you can do version 3. which just has the stops listed. And the blank box here for each stop is actually populated by the route notes field.
Oh, okay.
So if there are any particular account notes for that stop, that's where you can put those in there. Any special instructions.
Box code.
Exactly.
Gate code, okay.
Now the nice thing is that is a text field that you can enter in quite a lot of text and just double click in that field and it pulls up a big box that you can enter in all the route notes for that account. If I click on the text that says route notes, it actually lets me see my customers' addresses. Now what I'm going to do here is go ahead and, now that I've got a route schedule set up, I'm going to sync mobile devices. What this is going to do is allow me to sign in on my mobile phone, and we'll take a look at what the guys are actually going to see in the field if they're using the smartphones. So this is our app. When they load it up on their Android or iPhone, they're going to log in, and I set up that ahead of time. I created the logins for Route 1, and his password is simply just R1 for Route 1. And this, on my computer, the way I'm demonstrating this, it is running about 25% of the speed you would see on the mobile handheld, when that little sync process almost is instant when you first log in. You barely have time to read those dialog boxes when it's syncing. Everything's just kind of slowed down when I'm displaying it like this. And what the techs are going to do is then now click on Route Schedule. And I'm going to see all the stops for the week that are only assigned to me. So if we look at the service program real quick, we go to Route Schedule, and I filter this to only show Route 1, these same stops here should be the ones I'm seeing on my mobile device, which they are. I see 3 for the 18th, and then 1 for Tuesday the 19th. If I'm a route tech, I could hit the drop down here, and I have user security settings set right now that only allow me to see stops that are assigned to me. If I was an administrator or given security level 1 in the service program, I would have the option to flip to Route 2 and see his schedule. And what your guys in the field are going to do is they'll tap on their first stop. It's going to pull up the route details. They'll see any of the other information, the gate code, the route notes, the phone number, contact information. And then what they need to do to actually record their chemical data is they're going to hit the little plus sign in the top right-hand corner. It's like a plus sign in a movie ticket. And that's route ticket entry. So they would then put in their start time, They then can put in their initial or entry readings. They can put any amounts added. They then can check off the different services they did. Maybe filter clean, bucket emptied, water added, water clarity, cloudy. They can write any comments or notes. And I apologize for my spelling. Android does not do a good job for me, and I'll probably have on par spelling with what you get back from the text in the field.
Are all of these automatically in the Surface program, or can we actually go in there and, I don't know, just change any of them, add something, put our specific services in there?
The way that we have the app set for the chemical tracking is hard-coded into the app.
Okay.
It cannot change on the desktop, and it can't change on the app. Otherwise, it's going to just cause problems. Now, when we say, you know, pH added 2, well, that you just have to tell your technicians whatever chemical you use to control the pH, that's what you're adding. And you would, in the software here, we won't get into it today, but when you go into reports, you have calculation settings where you say, okay, pH in the app here actually equals, and it allows you to pick your chemical from your QuickBooks item list, so you can kind of tie your actual chemicals with the fields here in the app for tracking.
Okay.
Any services that you want to keep track of that your guys may do, I'd recommend using line items. Create an item in QuickBooks, a service item at a $0 price, and call it whatever your guys usually do. They can add these items to the tickets. So for instance, when he goes down and maybe he grabs the customer signature, you have to put in the end time or when he left the property. He can go now to pool items. And I can add items here. Maybe we have a category called field items. You could also have him select services. Maybe he did the pool startup. And you can, like I said, use these not necessarily for charging, but just to track the different jobs he did. These are all items you can create in QuickBooks and then use in our app.
Okay.
So maybe he did the pool startup today. I'm going to go ahead and save my ticket. I'm going to go back to my route schedule. I then can go back to the home screen and hit sync.
Where was that sync button at again, Mike?
If you see on my screen, it's the little, in the kind of bottom right corner, it's the little circle with the white arrow in it.
Okay. And then once he syncs it, it'll automatically pop up on my computer back here in the office.
Yeah, and I'm mine's just kind of sitting here right now.
I figured I'd ask you a question while we were waiting.
Yeah, please go right ahead. I don't know why it's hanging out. Something I haven't done is synced using this little program to kind of mimic the Android.
Yeah, this definitely sounds like an application that we need on all of our smartphones and all of our devices. I think it would make it a lot easier for us.
Oh, definitely.
A lot easier. Especially since one of our biggest problems last year, I wasn't here, but you know, if we only bill for 50% of what we're doing, it'll be so much easier to keep track of where they're at, what they're doing with a schedule, like with a route schedule like this. They've never really done routes. I think you tried to set it up, but didn't really stick to it.
Okay, how were you managing your services before? Just like kind of on a schedule?
Like we would have the task list, and I would create, I'm sure the lady created tasks, printed off the work orders, and then just sent the work orders with the guys all day, and then they just tried to make it to all of them. If they didn't, they just pushed the whatever they didn't get to the next day. And then every once in a while, my boss would call and check in on them, see where they were at. If they're falling behind, he'd try and leave the office and help them, but he really couldn't do that either because he's supposed to be taking bids and doing things in the office here. So it was just all over the place.
Yep.
They didn't have routes or anything or mapping. So, and then even some of the days, and the reason why I had questions on zoning, and some of the days they would have, 12, 20 cleanings, and other days they'd have 50, 60 cleanings. So it was very uneven, and I'm just trying to get it more organized and more consistent, I guess.
Gotcha. All right. Finally went through here. Now, when the guys synced in the field, I don't know why it's taking so long on my computer. It's probably because I'm sharing my screen and I've got all these programs running. But what you would now do in the desktop is either throughout the day, periodically, you're going to hit sync mobile devices to check for anything new, or you just hit it once at the end of the day to get all their completed work.
Okay.
And then I could go to route info, route ticket list, because we just did a route ticket on the phone. And there it is. For my first stop, it'll tell you it came from route 1. Here was the date of service, the customer. We were there at 3. We left at 4. We were on site for 60 minutes. And then I can double click this order number here. And I see everything the guy filled out on his phone with the different chemical readings, the recommended service, and the items. Any kind of questions on how to kind of do the basics of the route schedule, setting it up? Is there something that you think you do in your current kind of procedure that you don't know quite how to set up here?
not that I can think of right now, and as soon as I get off the phone, there'll probably be 20 things I need to ask you, but not that I can think of right now.
Okay, and then I'll take the last few minutes here to show you how the mapping now ties into this. So what I can do right on my route schedule is I could say, okay, I want to map Route 1 for the 18th. I pick my assigned to and assigned date, and then I hit map. What this is going to do is open up Microsoft Map Point. And open on my other monitor. Let me drag it over for me. Now I obviously have a bad address in here. I'm just going to remove that just for the purpose of the demo. And we can see what my route would look like mapped out. I then can bring up my route planner. I want to take my starting location and also make it my ending location. So now I have a true route. Then I can hit optimize stops, and it's going to reorder those. So it's saying my first stop for today should actually be Adams. So when I go to the service program, I just change him to number 1.
Oh, okay.
I picked the wrong one. He should be number 1. Adams, then Abbott. So I'm just using that same kind of numbering there.
Okay.
That's one way I can use MapPoint and organize my routes. Now I can get into a little more advanced if I go route info, route mapping, and here maybe I could map everybody on Joe's schedule. That's also in Zone 1 that we service on Tuesday this week. So basically once you have your kind of basic route set up, then we can use all these different parameters to optimize them, figure out maybe you have a customer that's not on the right date, they're in the same zone as other customers you service Monday. This is how we then can kind of optimize those routes and make sure that all the customers falling where they should be.
Oh, okay.
To take this even one step further, using MapPoint again, a new customer calls in today. They ask they'd like to sign up for weekly service. You add them into QuickBooks, bring them over as a customer. Now you have no idea what route to put them on, who they're close to, and without looking that person up maybe on Google Maps and then trying to find where they belong, just go route info, map new distance for a route stop. And I'm going to pick my new customer who's not on a route. So this is the new customer who's called in. I'm going to hit get distance. MapPoint is then going to search through all my routes for me and suggest where this new customer goes based on distance. So it's saying right now my closest customer is 40 miles away and they're being serviced on Monday. So I'm going to insert this new customer right after that stop on Monday. So when I go to my route schedule, here they are, right here, right after where I told it to go.
Will you do that one more time? Like I was writing down how to get to that.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to route info, route mapping, or map new distance for a route stop.
Okay.
I'm going to pick a customer that's not on my schedule, the new customer, and get distance.
Oh, the get distance.
And that's where MapPoint then goes and searches all routes automatically behind the scenes. You don't see anything. And it tells you right here, this new customer is only 7.13 miles from an existing stop that you're servicing on Tuesday. Now I could either insert it before or after that stop, and then it's automatically on my schedule. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to remap my routes or re-optimize anything. It's already in the best spot. Maybe that customer, this new one, Suzanne, cannot get serviced on Tuesdays. They need you there on Monday. Well, no worries. Just change your filter to Monday. And now our closest stop for Monday is only 14.6. Let me filter that by smallest to largest. There we go. This right here would be my closest stop that I service on Monday, only 9.3 miles away. So I can insert that after. And let's see, there's Suzanne, right after where I told it to go.
Okay.
Real simple. On the spin side of this, we're actually going to just set up a little demo real quick, and for tasks, we use MapPoint also. And I'm just going to use a little feature in our software to quickly get me some tasks. So I have a lot of tasks on my task list. I just quickly created a bunch here for us. What our software does is these would be maybe all your service calls, different maintenance repairs, maybe filter checks. Let's say a new customer calls, or not a new customer, but a customer calls in, and we go and create a task, and we select that customer. Now for scheduling, maybe their pump's broken or we have to go check something on their property. We want to figure out when I have a tech near them. Well, I can just hit check availability and then again hit get distance. MapPoint is going to search all my open tasks and tell me when it's scheduled this job based on when I have tech in the area. Go. And I picked a customer that happened to have a service address in our software in Connecticut, so my distances are all really far away, 1,000-something miles. But it would tell you which is the closest here, and it works just like that map new distance. I can schedule it before or after on my task list. I maybe only want to look at specific service calls here. So out of all my service calls, maybe on Bill's schedule, well, it's probably best to put them after this stop in the afternoon, so schedule it after. And that adjusts the start time and end time. If you see here, this one's being scheduled from 10:45 to 12:45, so this, when I hit after, would take the next 2-hour block.
How do you go in and assign, like that service call right there, can you go in and assign that to take 2 hours long, or does it automatically do 2 hours for everything?
What we do is it's based on your task type. So if I go in to create a task and I double click where my task types are,
Mm-hmm.
I can make all service calls default to default length of time, 2 hours, or 15 minutes, 1 hour, you pick.
Okay.
You can do that for each individual task types. Maybe service calls take an hour for diagnosis, maybe pump repairs take 2 hours. You can define all that.
Okay.
But we have kind of hit the hour mark. If there are no other quick questions, I'll give you hopefully a little bit more information and get this set up for you.
I think I am all set for now.
Perfect.
I'm really excited to start all of I just call it organization because I just think that they were all over the place. I'm really excited to implement a lot of this stuff, and hopefully we can stay on track more. So yeah.
Oh, it becomes painless. It's a bit of a setup. You know, we won't lie to you. It is some data entry. You've got to get everything kind of organized and all the different categories. And
Oh yeah, it took me a few hours to get all the task types and checklist names and everything synced together last week, but now I think I have them all the way I want them, so I can
Great.
start tweaking with the maps and routing and everything.
Great. Well, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and look forward to seeing you in any classes you're signed up for this week.
Yes, thank you so much.
Anytime. Take care.